The night he said it, the rain was falling so hard it sounded like stones thrown at the windows. "We'll marry," Adrian Blackwood said calmly, adjusting the cuff of his tailored suit, "but I'll never touch you." Clara Hale felt the words before she understood them. They landed in her chest, heavy and cold, like a door slamming shut inside her. She stood in the vast living room of his mansion, barefoot on polished marble, her small suitcase still by the door. Lightning flashed, briefly illuminating the cold beauty of the house. High ceilings, crystal chandeliers, walls lined with art worth more than her entire life. She swallowed. I don't understand." Adrian didn't look unkind. If anything, his face was painfully controlled, like a man who had practiced not feeling for a very long time. "It's a marriage of convenience. My family needs it. You need it. But there will be no expectations beyond that." Clara nodded slowly, even as something inside her cracked. She had agreed to this marriage for survival, not romance. After her mother's death and her father's debts, she had been left with nothing, and accept an offer too strange to refuse. Adrian Blackwood, one of the richest men in the city, needed a wife to secure his inheritance and silence his family. She needed a roof, stability, time to breathe. Still, hearing it out loud hurt more than she expected. "That's fine," she said softly. "I didn't come here for anything else." That was a lie. She hadn't come for love, but she had come with hope. Fragile, foolish hope. The weeks that followed were quiet, painfully so. They lived in the same house but in separate worlds. Adrian woke early, left before sunrise, and returned late. When they crossed paths, it was in polite nods and brief, careful conversations. He made sure she had everything she needed: clothes, books, a car, access to the gardens. But he never crossed an invisible line he had drawn around himself. Clara spent her days wandering the mansion, slowly making it less intimidating. She baked when she was nervous, filling the halls with the smell of bread and cinnamon. She spoke to the staff kindly, learning their names, asking about their families. In the evenings, she sat by the window, watching the city lights flicker, wondering how two people could live so close and be so far apart. Adrian noticed more than he let on. He noticed how the house felt warmer when she laughed with the staff, how his study smelled faintly of coffee on mornings she passed by, how she never complained, even when his mother visited and made thinly veiled remarks about charity cases. He told himself it didn't matter. Adrian had learned long ago that touching led to pain. Years before, he had loved deeply and recklessly. His first love had died in his arms after a car accident on a stormy night, much like this one. Since then, he had built walls so high even he couldn't see over them. He believed that if he never let himself feel again, he could never lose again. Clara, unknowingly, was testing every brick in those walls. One evening, months into the marriage, the power went out during a violent storm. Thunder shook the house, and the wind howled like something alive. Clara was in the kitchen when the lights died, plunging the room into darkness. She froze. The storm sounded too much like another night, another memory she tried to bury. Her breath grew shallow, her hands trembling as a quiet panic crept in. Adrian found her sitting on the floor, back against the counter, arms wrapped tightly around herself. "Clara?" His voice was softer than usual. She tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Her eyes were unfocused, her body locked in a silent battle. Without thinking, Adrian knelt in front of her. "Hey, look at me," he said gently. "You're safe." She shook her head, tears spilling over. I can't breathe." Every instinct in him screamed to step back. Don't touch, don't cross the line, don't open the door. But the storm outside roared louder, and something inside him finally broke. "It's okay," he whispered, placing a careful hand over hers. She flinched at first, then clung to him like a lifeline. He sat with her on the cold kitchen floor as thunder crashed overhead, his arm around her shoulders, her face pressed against his chest. He felt her heart racing, felt the warmth of her tears soak into his shirt. And for the first time in years, he didn't pull away. When the storm passed and the lights flickered back on, they were still there, holding on to each other like survivors of the same shipwreck. "I'm sorry," Clara murmured, pulling back, embarrassed. "I didn't mean to." "Don't apologize," Adrian said quickly. His voice was different now, unsteady, honest. Tell me what scared you." So she did. She told him about the night her childhood home flooded during a storm, about how her mother had been trapped inside, about how the sound of rain still felt like loss pounding on her chest. Adrian listened in silence, his grip tightening, his own memories rising to the surface. When she finished, he said quietly, "Storms took someone from me too." Their eyes met, and in that moment, the distance between them vanished. From that night on, things changed. Slowly, cautiously, but undeniably. They began having dinner together, talking, laughing, sometimes awkwardly, sometimes freely. Adrian found himself looking forward to coming home. Clara found herself feeling safe, but fear is stubborn. Just as they were learning to trust the fragile bridge between them, tragedy struck again. Adrian's mother fell seriously ill, and in the chaos of hospitals and lawyers, old wounds reopened. Adrian grew distant, colder, retreating behind the walls he knew so well. Clara tried to reach him, but he shut her out. "You don't need to stay," he said one night, his voice sharp. "This was never real." The words cut deeper than he knew. Clara packed her bag in silence. At the door, she turned back, tears in her eyes. "I know you're afraid," she said, "but pushing people away won't save you. It will only leave you alone." Then she left. The house felt emptier than it ever had. That same night, another storm rolled in, fiercer than before. Rain battered the windows, wind screamed through the trees. Adrian stood alone in the dark living room, Clara's words echoing in his mind. He realized then what he had done. He didn't just fear loss anymore. He feared losing her. As the lightning lit up the sky, Adrian grabbed his keys and drove into the storm, heart pounding, fear and hope colliding. He found Clara at a small bus station, sitting on a bench, her suitcase beside her, soaked and shaking. He ran to her, rain pouring down his face like tears. "Don't go," he said breathlessly. "Please." She looked up, stunned. "Why?" "Because I was wrong," he said, voice breaking. "I said I'd never touch you because I was afraid. But loving you has already touched every part of me." He took her face in his hands, trembling. "If storms come again, and they will, I don't want to face them without you." Clara stood, tears streaming, and for the first time, she reached for him first. They kissed under the storm, not as a fairy tale ending, but as a promise, to choose each other even when fear tried to tear them apart. In the quiet days that followed, they learned that love wasn't about grand gestures or perfect moments. It was about staying, about kindness, about holding someone's hand when the storm came back. And in a world that so often teaches people to protect themselves by building walls, they learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone in.